Cleaning out the fry.
Oh, yes.
I know, I'm sorry, guys.
Mom led last daughter tonight.
College meeting to order Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020, Mason County Board of Education, emergency meeting agenda 2004. Mason County Board of Education office, 6 p.m. All members present, please stand for pledge of allegiance. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nobody signed up, did they, for Superintendent's recommendations. Recommend the board approve emergency meeting agenda 20-04 of the Mason County Board of Education, July 22nd, 2020, at the Mason County Board of Education office, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, for the purpose of working on the reentry calendar for 2020-2021 school year.
Motion.
Motion, Ms. Dawson, second, Mrs. Timmon. Discussion, poll.
401.
401.
We looked at extra meeting, so we had, the interview, we scheduled these things.
So all four and all five.
That's all, that's everything, Campbell. So we're going all four and all five. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes 5-0. 401, recommend the board discuss and take possible action on a reentry plan for Mason County students for the 2020-21 school year.
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Carlson. Second, Mrs. Tennant. Discussion. Well, we're here, I guess. Start here.
Okay, I'll start. In front of you, you have the West Virginia Department of Education School Reentry Plan template. I want you to refer to it. There's things on here that we definitely gonna have to, in the next, before August 14th, come up with a reentry plan. The first section is on the calendar and schedule. The calendar you approved last night was sent to the State Department. From my understanding, we should hear back pretty quick on that one. Got feedback tonight. Small mics. So we will know for sure probably by the end of the week. Is my guess if it does approved by the state. Dr. Bond worked with Teresa Hammond, the State Department, who is over calendar, put the one together that we all approved last night. So we know the start date would be September 8th, which is the target date of the governor. The end date is May 28th, we're looking at. The next section through here with the schedule is the things that we're really going to look at very hard about what we want to do. Basically, we have to explain what we're doing in a weekly schedule. It'll be a rotating schedule, some type of 5-day, or a blended, some type of blended learning or 5-day. And whatever we come up with this, we've got several ideas that we can kick around. It ought not be set in stone. The simple fact that we need to really look at what's going on in West Virginia, what's going on in Mason County, anything in our individual communities. And if we start straight out 5 days, and there's problems, of course. I mean, I'm gonna be looking at the data every day. Every time I get data, I'm gonna be looking at it. Be talking to the health department to make sure where we're at, how we're doing. Or if we start with some type of a blended learning, where it would be 4 days in, 1 day out, or 2 days in, 3 days out. We need to be looking at it to see how things go. If we start with a blended, it shouldn't be one that we set for the whole school year. It ought to be something we look at and make sure that we're safe before we start on the next one. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a little longer than that. I saw one from Wayne County today, and they're going to go the whole first 9 weeks one way with the blended learning approach and reevaluate then. Yes, that's a possibility here. And at least if you start on a slow approach. You get a chance to see how things are going, how remote learning is working, and anything we need to tweak or add to it. If you start, I mean, and the other way to go, I mean, if you start straight out with 5 days, I mean, kids will be out almost 6 months, and I know we need to educate them, you know, bring them up and eliminate gaps. So I see advantages going either way. I'll talk about surveys here in a few minutes. So whatever we put for the weekly schedule shouldn't be something for the whole school year. It definitely needs to be looked at regularly and make adjustments accordingly. If we start 5 days, we see there's problems, we need to back off, go to some type of blended learning. Or if we start with blended learning and things progress quite well, we can step up and go that direction.
Then can we do it like in phase, I mean, can that be for like, can we have like phase 1, phase
Most
2, that way, kind of like the way the state reopened, or
Yeah.
what they did with sports over the summer?
Right, yeah, most definitely you can do that, whether you start with, right off the gun, and going 5 days right off the bat, and then we look at things and go, maybe slow down a little bit, cases are increasing, whatever's happening, evaluate it. And of course, if that's the case, we would want to back that one down as quickly as we know those problems. If you're on a blended learning approach, you would want to make sure you're good and comfortable, and it may not be a full 9 weeks, but maybe a few weeks to make sure we're in good shape before we would step it up to the next level. Okay. Anyway, that's definitely things we got to look at. The second item on this template is the virtual instructions. How many students are going to opt for virtual? In our first survey we sent out, just basically it was a simple questions. You have kids in Mason County. Are you going to send them to school or not send them to school? And are they going to ride a bus or not ride a bus? It was that simple. And out of 1,398 responses, we had about 75% of the parents that returned this saying that they would return to school. We had 25% say we're going to offer some other type of education. And of course, this one has comments in it where the parents had a chance to comment. And there's only 240 responses back there. I gave you some homework today. If you had a chance to look at it, send it to you, and you can kind of see how things are going. Because of the comments in there, there's a large contingency for 5 days, and push pretty strong for that. And there's others in there that have a strong contingency that say, hey, maybe we need to start slower with a slower option. So it's in there both ways. So we definitely have the comments from it. And then in the second survey we just recently sent out, we had 1,020 responses. And we asked, based on this, are you going to return to school in class, face-to-face, what we normally have? Or do you want to do some type of virtual program for students? Or do you want to homeschool? And on this one, 45% of the parents that responded preferred the in-person classes at school, the way we normally have been traditionally been teaching in Mason County. Then for virtual, there's about 50% of the parents went for the virtual, where they either be teacher-led virtual or the contractor that we have that provides virtual school for us, or West Virginia virtual school. So they ran about 50% on this one. So we really need to take a look pretty hard at that option. And then homeschool, this one was about 5% of the response we had. About 5% say homeschool in this case. In my opinion, that's better than saying 25% of the survey before.
Correct.
All right, so that went out. We've got some information for this. We probably need to send something else out on virtual schools. And actually, the State Department released frequently asked questions, 2 of them today. And one of them specifically was on the West Virginia virtual reentry options. And so you should have received that today with email. Definitely something we need to be getting out. It would come from me. I got the statement I forwarded to you guys. When I get this information, so you guys have it. And a lot of choices there about virtual schools. There's a lot of questions and answers associated with it. The next item on here is professional learning for teachers and staff. The answer is we have basically PD going on this week in here in this room and next week. The State Department is offering some professional development for the first week in August. There are sessions all day long, all 5 days that week that individuals can click on and watch virtually. And then with the calendar that you approved last night, we front-loaded 3 professional development days, and then we added 5 professional learning days. So we're going to try to get as much opportunity out there for teachers, for our staff, to have a good idea of what we're doing for this virtual instruction, how it's going to work. If we have to go to remote learning, the 2 big platforms we're using will be Google Classroom and Schoology. That's the 2 big ones we're looking at here in Mason County. And then the 4th one under there, the calendar schedule, is remote learning. How we're going to hold students accountable and staff accountable to get this done. So we're going to look at this pretty hard. We know with virtual instruction, it's difficult to engage students. It's very difficult. I've asked our tech department, is it possible that a lesson could be taught live streamed? And the answer is yes. Could that lesson be recorded where the student could see later in the day if it wasn't live? The answer to that is also yes. It's capable both ways. So students are going to be responsible for learning. They're going to be assessed for what they learned. There will be grades. It won't go back to March 13th like it did this past year. They will have to be held accountable for their learning. And it's going to be based upon the content standards that we require all students to do, whether in a virtual program or a face-to-face program or a blended program. We still have to follow, look at our pacing guide, and follow what we're doing. The next set of questions under there are pretty much yes or no. The social distancing, mainly looking at protocols from transition areas or time out of the academic setting. Will we have these protocols in place? We will. Classrooms arranged in a safe manner to limit the close interaction. Take care of the health of students and staff. We will definitely take care of that the best we can. Matter of fact, with the elementary principals this morning, one principal was talking to their staff about extra cabinets and things like that. When they have an empty classroom, they're going to move those extra items out there to get as much space as possible in each classroom. We also know that the limits on the classroom is based upon the state policy, so those will follow what we have. Okay, there's the mask. So they're going to be required. Students who are not in the core group, they're in areas, hallways, classrooms, cafeterias, buses, those type of things. So whether that's on a dress code policy or if it is in there, if it's not in there, we definitely need to address how we're going to handle the mask. However it happens. You know, we're getting comments on that already. It is split where there's people saying, what's the purpose of wearing a mask? And some people saying that you need to protect the safety of a student, and I expect them to be wearing a mask. So it's
Wow, mask, is that a mask?
say again.
Inspector? You never know, are we gonna make them wear?
Well, the thing is in the academic setting.
Yeah, you're saying they're not wearing school uniform.
What they're saying in the academic setting right now, the state department is saying in the core group it would be required. But try to do as much physical spacing, distancing as we could. I was still on the science lab. I had 4 kids working very close, and they're not using chemicals, whatever, definitely safety glasses, for a mask in the case. But that's something we're going to come up with. I mean, I think we're split on that, however it goes. We'll have to answer that question to get something there.
On that,
Yes.
but on that issue there with the mask, I know that'll be a later on topic in policy that we have to look at. Looking at that, the mask thing to me, I think can end up being a big distraction. And for even teachers looking, not saying I'm a teacher, but folks on they has a mask on, this, that. If somehow can we get some guidelines, maybe that they have the guidelines, and I'm not so big right now with all of it. I mean, I know if you said if one mark against you,
I'm not looking for this to the same point whatsoever. I understand. The main thing is the safety of the kids.
Sure.
That's what I'm looking at. So I'm not looking at, we have to put them in detention or some kind of a discipline. I'm not looking for that. That's not all. I'm not.
No,
I am not.
Make sure.
Okay, I'm trying to protect them and, the other students and the staff at the school. So, and that's a discussion we can have when we
Sure, I know it's not
back
there.
next, I think it's on the agenda next Tuesday. Essential visitors, we're gonna limit that, I mean, major, I mean, it just, this won't be there. When you look at the reentry toolkit, you guys should have a copy of it, we sent to you earlier. Talks about specifically about page 8, we're gonna look at the items there, but again, it's talking about in-person or blended instruction, pre-K through grade 5, and then grades 6 through 12, and the things that's listed there, you'll learn, so we'll look at it. The health and wellness, basically what the State Department said today was that, what they said today was, based upon the number of students in your school, that they'll be sending signage to us that we post throughout the school. And it seems like we're lacking, make sure we get it up every place. I like to have the COVID symptoms listed in every classroom, so they know, hey, you got this, you have to stay home. Okay? Or if you have it, let someone know, so we can get you taken care of. There's a protocol for a place for screening, isolating students and staff, and that's one thing we talked about with the principals today. You can't do a nurse's station. That's one of the questions we asked. And can you do this in the nurse's station? The answer is absolutely not. It's going to have to get an area that's not used for anything else. And so that's making them think about how to use their school. Where can they find this place? It's only used for set students with COVID symptoms and nothing else. So they're going to think about this. We'll have to get that in place. We'll have that in place.
So if a student or anybody in the school is symptomatic, that like, do we have, like, are we gonna have our school nurse and then have to have somebody in this isolation area? Because if somebody's symptomatic, however, they need to go straight to that area instead of going to the nurse's station and saying, I have a headache and a runny nose. And then, so then they possibly contaminated the nurse's station anyway.
The health department would definitely follow their guidelines, how it was the best way to handle that. Each school setting, how, kids have symptoms. We send them to the isolation room, let the office know. It's just a simple thing of, okay, the student goes to this room, the nurse checks. One thing we're looking at is adding LPNs to cover other schools. We're trying to use nurses, school nurses and add LPNs to help us on the medical side at our schools out there. But then the fact is, okay, now students at home, these guys personal items in the classroom, who goes and gets them? That's, you send another student to bring it down? Probably the best thing to ask
Okay, you're in that classroom, you let that classroom come back to school anyway.
Well, that's the other protocols you have to look at with the health department. I mean, what if you have a student that has COVID symptoms and has COVID?
And
How do you handle that, and you will have to follow the health department guidelines to the T on those things.
If somebody is having, either have N95 or feel,
The nurses will have the extra personal protection equipment at every school. Yes, sir. I mean, it's the same thing you have in your hospital. Yeah, they make sure we have that stuff ordered. Okay. Let's see, cleaning disinfecting protocols have been established. We have purchased the specific iodized electrostatic sprayers. I've seen a virtual demonstration of these things where we actually have two different sizes. We have the 1 liter that holds like 33.8 ounces of solution. This first one coming with this. The one that we currently are ordering has a dry time between 3 and 5 minutes. Is that correct?
Because of the solution we're
The
using.
solution. We're trying to get the ones with the tablets that you drop into the solution, and its dry time is something like a minute. Is that right?
That chlorine.
Yes, the tablet, chlorine
They
tablets.
said it didn't work. When you said it the last.
No, they work.
The chlorine didn't work, or the
It
chlorine
works.
was mentioned.
It was one of the other solutions we had, that, we could use in a sprayer, but, there was some of the word about the residue at the end of the thing over time. Definitely things that we clean up hot water and kind of have to reuse it. But anyway, the demo showed they took a piece like a Post-it, or I just described it, and it was yellow, and if moisture got on it, it turned blue. And so the guy started underneath the tables and chairs and stuff, and he was going through the room and this kind of stuff, to see how effective was this. And he pulled all those stickers off, and every one of them that was exposed to the air was blue. Where even though you didn't get right down on the spray, because it's electrostatic, you put a charge on that particles, and so it's attracted to it. And they say you can go through the bus in a couple minutes, real quick, and disinfect those buses. And on one solution, evidently, from what we had the directors on site with it. Mr. Towner said that the one demo they had with bus drivers, the guy put the solution in the container and he drank it. And so, you know, if you need any glasses or any safety device or anything like that, that person protects the equipment to use this on a school bus or in a classroom, things like that. So, and then we're also talking to the development.
Did you see 3 days later that other video where you don't drink that?
Probably true.
There's a COVID cure.
The green yuck side needs to be on those things.
It sounds like we got a cure for COVID then.
So anyway, we have the sprayers, we will have training for our staff about how to use it, and we're looking at possibly having these things in the PE classrooms where they can go through, one group goes in, one group goes out, and you can use those sprayers to disinfect the infection. So we'll definitely have those, and same thing for music choir, instrumental music, that type of thing. Social emotional wellness. Wow. They probably have the physical, social, emotional wellness, since that's one of the bucket lists in the Reentry full guide we read. We are looking to add a social worker, and we are looking at 2 social workers. Okay, we're actually applying for the competitive grant, and maybe possibly get another social worker, and with that competitive grant, possibly another LPN there. So we know this will be a problem. We know there's things we've got to work on. And this is a plan we definitely need to get in place. The cleaning and hygiene kind of goes there together. The posters will be up, have it. We'll have the areas that the high traffic areas that we take care of. We're looking at putting the plexiglass on the counters at offices of schools, like the areas you see people walk into any stores of that. It has the barrier up, we're in the process of purchasing those. And then if there's offices where you can't social distance, maybe in a counselor's office or social worker's office or someplace like that, we're looking at the tabletop plexiglass dividers out to help with it. Child nutrition, Ms. Blaze has been working extremely hard on this, and she's got it down with the devices that's coming to get the meals pre-wrapped. Unfortunately, the children don't have a lot of choices on this because of the fact that they can't handle the spoons and self-serve or anything along those lines. But she's been working on that big time, and she'll definitely have a plan for us on that. And then the last one is on the transportation. And under transportation, the protocols there, the cleaning, disinfecting the buses. We found out yesterday that we can store that sprayer on the bus. We can keep it there. There'll be one for every bus driver. And between runs, they'll be able to disinfect the bus. They're looking at a location where to put it on the bus right now. But it's a little leader. I probably should run one over for just to show them what it looks like.
You want me to go get it?
It's in my office. You know where it's at. You got your key, you want to get it. You
I'll
want to
go
walk, get it.
You gonna drink it?
No, I don't have any solution in it. There's no solution in it. But it's one of the sprayers and how it works.
I think we need to
So it'll be able to disinfect the bus, and then the third thing over there about schedules being off, adjusted to limit the number of students on buses and social distancing. I know one back to school reentry plan in one county, they're limiting the bus number to 18, trying to do as much social distancing as they can. But we are still looking at, matter of fact, we looked today with the elementary principals about the possibility of the 2 bus runs, an elementary run and a secondary run. And we think we have some time schedules down for that. Definitely need to let you all look at it. We keep looking for pitfalls, at least I keep looking for pitfalls and problems associated with this. And that's something I can go into at a later time. So anyway, that is the template. This is what we're expected to complete, fill out, and it needs to be done by August 14th. We've got a couple survey results here, and we definitely need to put out a couple more things, especially about the virtual schools, to try to get actual numbers to see what we need to have there. Of course, we need that reentry plan, and that reentry plan may also determine how many will virtual or not, based upon what we do. It may change the numbers a little bit, so it's almost like, well, maybe I'll have a reentry plan before we do that. We definitely need to get the idea of what's there, and then we have the guidance here from the State Department today on even simple as how to assign teachers to classes that will have that. So that's all in that frequently asked questions you received today. Any questions for me, or how do you want to proceed here?
I have a couple of questions. I know there's funding, we're talking about getting extra LPNs for medical stuff. Is there any funding, or is it an option to look at extra custodians?
Wow.
Because I just feel like in some of our schools, the custodians seem to have you hear them say they have a rough time, keeping up on a regular basis. And now if we're doing deep cleaning and they're having to do even more, is there something, is there a way to fund some of those?
Each school has, as far as get one of the 2.5 gallon backpack sprayers, which would be a little easy to go through the building to disinfect. We've not added that into any of our, even for the competitive grant, we're looking for the big cost of the personal protection equipment, and then the equipment that you need, the hand sanitizer, the solution to go to the sprayers. So the question was asked, and about funding for extra counselors with competitive grant.
Custodians.
Is that something to add to it, I think? Are we maxed out on it right now?
No, the guidelines for the grant are for social emotional, technology, and closing the cheat kids.
Is there any?
Get up there.
Do we know of anything out there
Look to
available?
see if there's anything else available, it's a question we can ask.
I just think even with the sprayers, I know those are quick, but so if a custodian is doing that through especially on the deep clean days, if we go that route, there's still the sweeping and the trash and the, you know what I mean? If there was any funding or if we could find some just for some extra custodians, I think that.
All right, we'll see what we can find, okay? Down here and add it to the list. This is the sprayers that we purchased. And the whole leader solution here, which is 33.8 ounces, it's battery operated. And there are 3 different settings in the front for the amount of material you put out. And depending upon the solution you put in here, the one has a 3 to 5 minute drive time, the other has a drive time of about a minute. And when we first demoed on the virtual, he just walked around, spraying it in here in the classroom. It was actually, it looked like a kindergarten or a pre-K classroom, it looked like. Because all the equipment things around.
How long would it take to clean a room with that?
I would say to disinfect, I would say that video was probably, when he's walking through it, probably 5 minutes. So it's actually pretty quick. So.
I would have liked to see like a demonstration because it must come out in a very fine mist.
It does.
It's not gonna make surfaces wet, is that correct?
Well, it will, but like I said, it has a drying time. Yeah. So
You can show them with that. It's got water in it. It is like a mist.
you're the one who sprayed it in my office.
Yeah, I sprayed his office with it. Then he took it from me.
Ghostbusters.
There you go.
Water fine at the portal.
You go ahead, Mr. Collins.
I'll probably tear the thing out.
Point it down.
But is that complicated?
Oh, no,
Taste it.
that's water. That one only has water in it.
Oh, I do see it now.
I feel extreme, but it does. So
It goes out and
I
gets,
see, okay.
Like this.
Oh, it's like
That's water.
I don't care. Hey, we can spray them all down, so you're on the bus.
Right here. Dale doesn't want his hair wet.
Wait, one more.
That's the way it says it, that's the way it works, and then they just walk it, in the classroom.
That's what I know it's quick, but so, like average number of, even just in elementary school, how many classrooms does the extra time happen?
All right, we'll see what we find in the budget for the room to service.
On the transportation, I know you said that you would deal with that later, but having 2 runs, we don't have a problem with bus driver's contracts with,
Everything that we're seeing is no, but that's definitely the question we're asking right now.
Yes.
We're still asking,
It's a 7-hour day, so if they drive at
It's questions we're asking.
6 o'clock in the morning and they drive at 4 o'clock in the evening, guess what? You don't know what their school time is, I said, no, that's a big trust me.
That's definitely something else we're looking at, we're making sure everything's good on that line. That's, until I get those final answers, where we're at with that, before we actually do it.
and our time, our schedule for the day.
It's a decent schedule, what we looked at today was actually, I thought,
Because they were running, like, the first run and the second run could possibly be half hour.
it's an hour and a half,
So if they would, or you mean total?
an hour and a half
Total
between the two runs.
Okay, the 2 runs out. Okay, so.
I mean, this is just us, we're looking at today. School day, this is elementary, school day will begin at 8 a.m. and be over at 2 p.m. Except for Leon, it will be 7:30 and 1:30. Now, you understand, this is just, we're just.
Just
okay, this-
playing around with it.
Yes, okay, don't, this is what we're doing, no, it's what we're doing.
What was the first one? 8 to
Okay, it's 8 to 2. So really, the start times is pretty close to what the schools are right now anyway. So there's no big adjustment on them.
But with the second run, that would change.
The second run, we're looking at.
Would be for secondary.
We get, between them, so we're looking at high school, roughly 9:30 to 3:45.
That's pretty close.
So you're saying, so that there's not going to be 2 runs for the elementary?
No, there's just
No,
one
so
run
there's
for
one
elementary,
one
one for
secondary.
secondary.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. I
So
was-
the workday for the elementary is roughly 7:30, 3:30. The workday at Leon will be 7:15, 3:15. There's still built-in times that you can have PLCs, 2:15 to 3 o'clock. And then we also looking at, some things with lunches, some other things we're looking at. So this is just talking points only, nothing said in stone, we get a lot of things in.
Can you do your own thing? What time it will start?
Which one now?
What time it will start in the morning?
You're talking about bus drivers?
Yeah, so you do your own thing. What time it will start? First school, 8? So there'll be buses at 6:30, the other
See
buses.
about the record time.
Okay, at regular time, and then what time it will get home evening? 6 o'clock.
Close to regular.
Let's look at the time. We'll do it at 3
High school,
o'clock.
yeah, so that's what I'm at. So they'll get home at 5:30, so you look, there's a 6 to 6 shift where you see the problem.
Well, that's the question we gotta ask.
You know what I mean, because you're on call all day long, they don't, they just drive it in the morning and then drive it in the evening, you're free.
That's this question for asking, so that's what we gotta look at, definitely.
I have one more question while we're on buses, so don't forget. Like, we're putting up barriers in offices where we can't social distance, I mean, in classrooms, we're going to social distance as much as possible.
Right.
Bus drivers don't have the option to step back away from students. If I'm sitting in my driver's seat, students come up the steps, that's definitely not 6 feet, they don't have the option. Are there barriers anywhere out there? But if
I'm
we're
not
putting
wearable
barriers in
buses.
offices,
Yeah,
that- I mean,
wearable buses, I mean, that's something.
is there anything out there?
I see anything, we can add that to the list to look.
That's what, that was the question I was
because
asking.
they don't have the option.
So I don't get home and see my kids or grandkids if I'm a bus driver, is that what you're saying?
If it's in an office where it's not an
It's not
office.
on a bus, and a bus
Then
is what?
there's
As long as
definitely
the bus is
a
on 50
bus.
foot, you.
That's why we're wearing masks, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
See, I'm
Because
not
we're not
going
social
to.
distancing, but if the mask took your
You're saying,
away,
I'm
I'm
just
just
saying.
on counselors' desks or in offices where it wasn't possible, like you just said.
So that's why I guess where the
That's nothing
masks
else.
come in, where they said you can't social distance, you can't wear masks.
Well, but then in that case, we wouldn't need them on like a counselor's desk if
Yeah,
masks were the only, if double masks were acceptable on the bus, it would be the same, we wouldn't need these plexiglass barriers.
You're right, you're right,
So I guess it just, we have to decide which way we want to go.
exactly right.
I've got a couple questions. Let me go back to the survey you sent out.
Yeah,
We've got, roughly, you say roughly, we got 1,400 responses.
the one looks like 1398, yes.
So really, if we got 4,000 kids, so we got roughly over 30% back.
All right, I guess about.
I guess half, because they know, some
Some of them have more than.
of these probably had 2 kids, you know, some of them had
So
4.
we'll say roughly there. Some of the methods we use is only like Twitter, Facebook, email, I mean, I've had several people say we had nothing, knew nothing about it, we don't have Facebook, we don't have Twitter.
How else can we put it out?
Is there any way?
My understanding, Mr. Billings, is that, because I don't get the calls that go to families, but that Mrs. Doyle sent out a call and they can call in and Anita is entering them.
So you can do a call too.
Yes.
Lots of just trying to see what the sample size is.
But I'd like to have all.
Sure.
And I would like to have that, but I just have to go on what I've got right this moment. And I like, is this a good cross-section for Mason County? No, not. It's a third, and then the other one had 1,020 responses, about 4.
Then also, depending on which way we would re-enter, whether it's 5 days, 2 days, whatever, have we looked at what the financial burden would be, you know? If we go, say, 2 days, we don't, all the extra teachers, aides, how's this going, will that affect their jobs, how, none of that's gonna be affected. Other than
It's
that,
still a 200-day contract, but however we go, it's still a 200-day contract, and that's where we're at. A lot of decisions, a lot of decisions. Whichever way we want to go.
How would we get the mask?
Say again?
How would we get the mask?
We talked about that today. He's going to have to actually get the first mask. He's going to have to be on the bus for the first kid. Yeah, or at the door that the parent brings them in. So we'll have to have them available there on the bus and also at the door. So we talked about that too. But how you going to get to them? They're not been there yet, so how do they get their mask? So either the bus driver, as far as
The bus transportation department is getting 5,000 disposable masks, which is more than enough because not every child rides the bus. Then we have about, right now, 12,000 masks total. So then there'll be some that'll go out to the schools, but at the school level, they can give them, each child will have 3 masks available to them that aren't disposable. The one from the State Department, and each school is getting school-specific with their logo on it.
That's cool. Makes it a little fun.
I figured there'll be some out there with designer masks. Child will have the rest.
That's what I said,
We're getting ready to
It's
talk,
probably gonna happen.
we're getting ready to talk about some of our house.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's my question. That was what I asked earlier. Who will have his mask inspector? Are we gonna allow that, or we'll say, we give you a mask, you wear it? Because some people not gonna do that.
I think you have to.
They're not wearing the
follow-
clothes you give or the uniform.
But you kind of have to follow the state of West Virginia has guidelines.
Okay.
But I think, do those not just flow over into our school buildings? Like if the governor says everybody in the state has to do this, to me, that means we have to do it that way on school property too. Does it not?
You know, when you look at the safety and welfare of students and staff, it's all again protected.
Right.
And the EHR and our local health department and our governor saying this is what we need to do, we can follow as much as we can.
I mean, I know what you're saying, 'cause there's some, I mean, I
That's what we
know
want to do, right?
50%, it's a 50-50 all across the country right now. But I'm just saying, whether, if the governor is still saying that they must be worn inside if you're closer than 6 feet, in my opinion, since it's our duty to keep everyone as safe as possible, whether little Johnny's mom believes in masks or not, Johnny has to wear one because that's a government mandate.
So are we gonna deny them their right to an education because they're not gonna wear a mask?
And then I think they should have to choose, I mean, there's a virtual option,
That's-
they don't
I mean,
want to
that's
enter the
true.
building and wear a mask.
I mean, because
Lots of things to talk about.
yeah.
we're gonna have markers every 16, how's this?
Well, there's supposed to be, the restrooms, the locker rooms are supposed to mark 6 feet, the office areas are supposed to mark 6 feet. Our principal's been talking about that, giving that information to our custodians, so they can be working on that. There's some marked out here doing ours. But you limit the number in the restroom, or even out here, it has a 6-foot plaque from the door. That's an option. Anyway, yes, that's all in the requirements in the reentry toolkit.
And the last time, for me, the key to even make this even somewhat work is communication. If we're gonna have communication from you to your staff to teachers, everybody's gonna have to. I mean, we're not gonna make everyone happy, but we've gotta be transparent and best we possibly can.
I 100% agree with you. I've talked to Andy late in the last couple of days, and once this calendar was approved by the state, I've asked Dr. Bond in the video to explain what's going on. I've asked displays to get with him, and they actually they told me they got some sample students that can help out with this. Show us what it look like going through the lunch line, show us what it look like in the classroom. Explain the cases of virtual school, okay, I can go through all of that, and do these little individual video clips that we have, and then be online, and they can click on and watch. So I look at wholeheartedly as transparent as we can be, have video instructions there, explain what's going on, and then, also have you don't want pages and pages of documents, but get it down where, people understand what you're saying. I said communication is number one. They may like it, they may not like it, but let them know exactly what is going on. And that's probably why we see some of the results of the survey, because they're not sure what this virtual school is. What is this thing? So I know some of you even asked about that, so I bet I get Dr. Bond do a little presentation on that, explaining the different options here that we have.
And then once those are out, can we do a call out to let people know they're on like the website?
Yeah.
Since
Yes.
lots don't be social media,
Yes.
just like the surgeons.
Yes. A lot of that.
Well, and nothing is ever, there's always something to look at from 5 different angles.
You're calling it. You're calling it. Well, yeah, over here. I will let Jack talk. Just call it. Just a minute.
Okay.
Come to us.
I am, I like that. Okay, another parent and I have been talking to parents, teachers and school personnel and like local folks. Because there's just so many rumors and there's all kinds of stuff, there's all kinds of scary stuff, there's all kinds of questions, folks don't know what's going on. And the grammar's all jacked up, I'm sorry. This is the best that we can put together on super short notice. We attended some virtual forums where parents, teachers, and coaches were discussing the different concerns that they have for reopening. And I don't only get 5 minutes, that's how I printed it out. And we didn't expect answers, but there's just things we wanted to bring up specifically, so I'll just try and highlight some of those. That's okay. For testing, this is why it's the first one. This is one we got so very much. How will we test? How often will we test? Who will do the testing? What's the protocol for sending kids home and allowing them back? If a student or staff member becomes infected, what will be the protocol for the entire school? How do we determine what's reasonable, what's not reasonable? Will this be handled class by class? Will the district partner up with the health department to make a universal protocol, or will it be case by case? Will teachers and staff be tested in person before learning begins? If students test positive and a teacher has to be quarantined, does this count against their absences and their time, because there's so many days that we have to work with? A lot of parents are concerned about the lack of nurses that we have in the county, especially with, typically it's students with more severe problems. That's where we're putting nurses, because we want to be able to get to them. But with this, everything changes so much, things mutate. The concern is for students with underlying health conditions that could be agitated or could be severely impacted by COVID. How do we handle that? Are we putting nurses to schools? Number 3, training videos for parents, and here's why. Schoology can certainly be a pain for parents, and this was an issue ongoing in other places before this, but if there's a possibility for a hybrid approach or things like that, could we make some video and tutorial clips to walk parents through how to access Schoology, how to get in, how to get to their kids' work, things like that. Same things for Google Classroom, same things for Classroom. Also, absences, how does that system work? Currently, we have a certain number of parent notes, things like that. With COVID versus cold and flu season versus those sorts of things, will students get additional parent notes, things like that. How do we handle that? Will there be revisions to accommodate families during the time to prevent unnecessary absence penalties? If someone has to be quarantined, will there be some sort of packet to mimic a non-traditional way of instruction? So that way those students, their learning is not interrupted. HVAC systems. These are the NSA HVAC systems for the schools. Roosevelt often, well, not often, but it did happen more than a couple of times. School couldn't continue because there were heating issues. Some schools are freezing in some rooms, blistering in others. We know that ventilation can impact, distribution movement of droplets. So therefore, who is investigating the HVAC? Is there a plan to make sure that all schools are prepared before school starts? If not, is there a timeline for how that would be handled? And with the CARES funding, because some schools were starting out in deficit because they're lacking some resources, how is all that handled just to make sure that that's there? Number 7, and this is important, Zoom meetings, and in case we're dealing with the hybrid stuff again, it looks like a lot of folks really are super concerned and are very interested in that. Zoom meetings do not work well for students with autism and other disabilities. Hard copies are most effective. Members facilitating the learning for special education students needs to meet with teachers prior to instruction. Is there additional budget for printing and mailing materials for students who cannot respond to virtual? How will IEP meetings be held, in person with masks, virtual? How quickly will IEP meetings be scheduled and handled? Because this is going to impact those students greatly. So we need to get those modifications and accommodations written in and secured in a plan to make sure these students are supported. Again, how do we ensure we restrict the learning environment and not deny students state? Making sure that students with special needs are not put in something room. Not to say that anyone has suggested that, but this is a concern that several parents have. In additional, we have other protocols for staff or teachers who are immunocompromised, like blood barrier and things like that. One parent is specifically worried about remote learning, child in IEP needs strict classroom setting with no direct attention. We see that that's number 11. For teachers who live in areas with poor signal, where I live, when it rains, we ain't got no internet. Okay, so when we have those virtual days, how are we supposed to handle that? We front load lessons and then, program it into school, which you can certainly do. And then, if your teachers are available by phone, are we going to, analyze those teachers? How do we ensure equity of access for both students and teachers? I know some counties are purchasing MacBooks for all their teachers and students. We're a smaller county. I don't know what our funding looks like, but this is a concern for folks. Plan for students with food allergies, we're talking about masks. Listen, you can see my face. My youngest baby, and I've talked to a lot of parents who are super concerned about food allergies. You're having an allergic reaction, especially when you're little and you don't know how to bring that up to a teacher. Hives, right around the face, facial swelling, you cannot see that because it's obstructed. Also, you're blocking an airway in that part. This becomes a safety and a life-threatening concern. These babies right here cover all points of entry unless somebody comes up and gets your face, which is possible in regard to preschool and sometimes other grades. But so that's a consideration to take in. Parents are concerned about the domino effect. Students should be asymptomatic but then fall ill. What happens there? Provide ways for students to meet teachers by hosting outdoor back-to-school events. Concerns about cleanliness of kids' masks. They're not clean when they become depository germs that can impact students during cold and flu season. Then they have to worry, is it COVID? Is it just allergies? Is it COVID? Is it flu? Is it COVID? Is it cold? How do we address all that? How will students be held accountable if they have no internet access? We might be getting devices and can access the internet. We're doing hybrid thing. Are we going to front load these devices? Pick them up with the bus, clear them, have our own, bring them back in, we simply have hard copies, how we handle that. Sorry. Okay, so this is, I gotta say it because I was told to say it and I'll be quiet if I have to. But number 27, please look at it. There are a lot of parents who are really freaking out about this. I'm not suggesting that this is happening. I have read it personally in some districts in Florida and in some districts in Missouri. In regular waivers that are in there about students being injured and things like that on school property, there is now a provision and a clause to state that parents will not hold school districts responsible in the event that their child falls ill and or dies due to COVID-19. A lot of parents are super freaking out about this. I can't even tell you how many phone calls that I got because I'm putting the little finger quotes here. They're death waivers. Oh my gosh, I can't sign it. And if I won't sign a death waiver, my kid loses access to education. And, now there's one thing to have a mandate that says you're required to do this. Since it's legal, we all have to follow rules. How do we handle this? Is this something that we are going to have to look at for Mason County? And there's just a lot of parents are wondering, so they just wonder what's going on with that. How will students with IEPs get mandated breaks if they're required to stay in groups? How will pull out work? How will push-ups work if that happens? Because you've got people moving between classrooms, you could be moving around germs. in high schools and things like that, when students have to change classes, things like that. You're gonna have to take time to sanitize the classroom and all the equipment's in it before your new group of kids comes in. If that is what we're doing, so what's the plan for that? How does that affect instructional time? Because you're gonna lose roughly a few minutes at the beginning, a few minutes at the end. Okay. Types of barriers in place for students in classroom, are really affordable plexiglass barriers, things like that. Will staff, custodial staff, support staff who are tasked with working directly in areas where they most likely at some point would be exposed to COVID, are they going to be paid more? Is there like a hazard thing? Is there a differential? We're asking how do we protect those folks, because we're going to be asking them to work more, we're going to be asking them to work in a situation that is high risk. And West Virginia is a state that's filled with those underlying health conditions. This is a huge concern all the way around. And number 31 is super important, and the reason why is because a parent called the state board today and asked some questions about virtual. What's the difference between the virtual academy versus what the state has here, and all this how does this work? And that parent was told that the virtual academy didn't even exist. Oh, I know. So we need clear explanations of parent options when it comes to schools. Parents calling the state board getting mixed information about virtual learning programs offered by the state. What's the breakdown? How will it work for Mason County? Will we run a virtual program taught by teachers here? Or if families wish to participate in online instruction, which virtual program is it? And specifically, here's why. There's a virtual academy. It's called West Virginia Virtual Academy. I've completed the web address for it, so you can look it up. This system utilizes offline learning kits as well as sign-ups for teachers. However, the address for this West Virginia Virtual Academy is in Virginia, which, as we know from somewhere back in the 1800s, there's this whole split or whatever. Now, we're not in Virginia. So then the concern is that for another one of these programs, they're utilizing lesson plans that come from Florida and I believe Massachusetts. It's one of the northern states. So those lesson plans are correlated and break down from those standards from those states, and those are online programs that are already there, so we're outsourcing that. So however we feel about that, that's what's happening. And it's not addressing West Virginia state standards. Therefore, is the rigor the same? Who's done the evaluation? Because in the past, we weren't intending to have a model like this, right? This was not in the plan. It was you have students who are homebound, you have students who have to do this for a time. And therefore, you want to make sure that they're getting some instruction while they're getting whatever other support that they need. But if this is a hybrid model is here, who's running the show and where's the like all that stuff coming from? Things like that. I should say this exactly, so I don't mess this up. How will they stay separated from core groups? Can a high school student stay within elementary? For example, because I didn't understand that. Eyes crossed. So, for example, what if a teacher works in an elementary school, one child goes to high school, one to elementary? The only way the teacher can get the kid to high school is to drop both students, elementary and high school, at the elementary school to catch that bus, which in the past was not an issue because we're trying to compete with core groups. Is this something that will be possible? And then, of course, like when can people expect out of their plan, because the your support staff, all those folks have to figure out date and stuff for their kids. And that can be a huge problem. And there's lots of other questions. When you're using the chlorine industry, for instance, things like that, if you have students with asthma, allergies, any sorts of those sensitivities, what's the risk? How are they assessing that? How do we consider those samples? And there's actually like probably in the 6 to 8 things that I'll just email you guys. But that's and there are folks who just said, listen, we don't know how to say these things, we don't want to seem rude, but these are our concerns. A lot of parents have said outright, where are my kids going to go to school? Because they're going to have to sign a death waiver. Some parents have said outright that they'd rather homeschool their kids than send them 5 days a week. A lot of folks are in favor of phases.
I gotta move it on with it. I think we'll address every one of these, I know it, eventually. I mean, I'd like to have answer every one of these myself, I know we've got most of them, but some of them we're not clear about, I think they've been working on them.
Yeah, especially the face mask versus face shields. So will students and or teachers and or support staff who are compromised or who cannot, have the barrier of distance to special needs, autism, to drinking services, things like that, those masks will be a difficulty, so will they have the option to do?
Even, the mask we have today, this versus teacher, the clear mask for the hearing impaired child, that type of thing. We have to see them out.
Yeah.
And we have a box of those today to see how they work, how they try out. A lot of the IEP questions, our special education department, we're working on that, which I use, you have meetings weekly, the state department on that. Equal access is a big thing, because then you have to have equal access to all students. So, yeah, there's a lot of excellent questions here. We're definitely working on these. A lot of them we have the answers right now, and some of them we're still working.
And the video thing is, just if I can reiterate that, like, that would be huge, and if you need volunteers, I've got a list of people who are willing to pop on and help make YouTube videos, because even if you're not on social media, you're getting on YouTube. Like, I'm sorry, that's just, most people do that, we need to figure out how to fix something, build something, make something, you're going to YouTube. So, whether it's YouTube or not, if we can make serious videos, that way parents know exactly how to do that, that'd be huge.
Yes, I've asked our tech department back here for how to use the Schoology and Google Classroom, how to get on it, instructional videos on how to do that. This has been going on for the last probably month plus, getting those things together. And of course, I think you may have heard earlier, they've been working on the videos that we get out, try to ease some minds about this is what it looks like, and explain something to them, help them out.
You know, along with communication being so vitally important, I really think that attitude is going to mean a lot here too. We've all got to work together to make this work. I mean, we all have the same goal, we want to educate our children. And we've got to go in with a positive attitude that we're going to, everybody's going to have to cooperate and do our best to follow the guidelines in order to make this work for our students. And parents have some vital decisions to make on how, you know, if they do not think their child will be safe in the environment that we're producing, they're gonna have to make decisions. Do they want to go virtual? Do they want to homeschool? I have grandchildren that I love dearly and I would not put them in harm's way for any reason. And if I'm not satisfied with how it's gonna work for their safety, I would choose to do it at home. I would be researching and seeing how to approach that. But I think attitude is extremely important. We've got to go in this thinking that we can make this work, that we're gonna move forward. We've got to have a succeed attitude about this.
So tonight, are we gonna talk about kind of what we're thinking? Because I know we've got to start to at least get some kind of plan in motion. That way people can start planning what they think they're wanting to do. I know we've discussed a lot tonight, but I mean, we saw all the comments in the email that Mr. Collins sent to us, 16 pages of comments. Some are far one way, some are far the other, and I know it's gotta be a compromise where we try to make as many people happy and feel safe and content with the decision. So are we gonna try to talk about what we're thinking about doing, so at least there's thought out there?
I think you're amenable, I understand, I think we're going to an executive session, that's personnel.
Okay.
It's involved in all that, you know what I'm saying, it's involved in all this, and I'm just thinking even from the questions, that's about the questions I didn't hear. That's why I always have a smart aleck remark, everything that's said, it's always a negative, because I hear, that's why you get the answer, you know, but I'd like to see us on the next meeting that we're scheduling, have it like a work session roundtable, we can sit down and get the answers to these questions and other questions that we have ourselves, that you guys been on planning still. We're the ones who have to approve it all again. You know, and I'm like Ron, if I'm not comfortable with it, I just won't vote for it.
That's what
You
we're all
know,
personally invested in this. Yeah, I don't think any of us are gonna be unsafe.
Everybody's taking it lightly, it might be.
No, that's what I say, so that, see, we got a lot of stuff we need to find out.
Maybe
We need to
we'll
know
go
what
with
they
it.
know.
And there's really no right or wrong, so I'm trying to learn about there is it's unprecedented, there's no clear cut right or wrong. I mean, I know without a shadow of a doubt, at least 50% of Mason County is going to be unhappy
Yes.
with whatever plan we roll out, with whatever we choose. I mean, there's no way to make the majority happy, so in my mind, we just have to do
We gotta do what we feel
is
safe.
best for the safety of the students and staff regardless, and that's it.
I think that's
We can't worry about sadly making people happy.
Our employees.
Absolutely.
Maybe you could, or if not, if you allow me to, I will. If our next meeting or meeting, have Dr. Living, if he can be.
Almost, I want the health department involved in this, we come.
To come and address
Right
us
here.
and give us what the knowledge and different things that he's seen. I'm sure, like I said, it's continuing changing from now to right up to rate, but just to, with him being here within our county now, over the health department, that's all. I
So
think
they can get in here and into the nurses also, or a combination.
it'd be something good just to hear their voice too.
Because if we're, I mean, before we do that, because I love that idea of having input from everybody, and of course, the health department being here, but like, before we do that, is, like, would now be the time to discuss though, like, what, at least kind of like the hard template as far as, are we looking at 2-day weeks, are we looking, I mean, before, because all of those things, like, health department stuff, all that, of course, kind of comes into play depending on that kind of fair goes plan, right?
Is that something you want this evening, or is I can give you my idea now, or something on hold, or you want to talk about employee issues?
I think we'll talk about the employee.
Employee issues first, before I may say some ideas I have in mind anyway.
Because, I mean, just going off what you said earlier, I mean, like what you said, before you move to the next stage, you gotta have at least 3 weeks. You should go into whatever we do, you gotta have at least 3 weeks of clean everything before we go to the next one. We ain't never been there yet. So, if you're asking where we'll start,
Did the governor say something today about delaying the starting of the war?
I did not hear the governor today.
I'm sure
The
he-
governor.
I'm sure he is.
The final say on this, I'm sure he's.
I'm sure he's working.
Well, that's committed on it, that the kids and staff will not report until he feels
yeah, I'm
Hundred
gonna
percent
call what
safe.
you say today.
maybe breathes from the lines. But it's
The surge in numbers.
Just because we'll cap on one
Everybody's
area.
got his list, right? It's basically kind of the increase in cases.
I'm sure it was, I don't.
Like, someone told me today that they heard the governor speak, and he's kind of listed as one that's treated the wrong way.
I heard it for churches, we had 2 outbreaks.
Just, I didn't know if, like, when we were doing that, because before, I think we have like that workshop or whatever, you have to have that
So that's the thing.
bare bones
I found
plan
out, here's,
for then
here's,
those opinions.
here's what we have, and then, the board bid, what's there, to come up with a final plan.
I think it's pretty easy, to say this, cases, the more they test, the cases continue to go up. We're seeing increase in the hospital because of there's been a lot of negatives, don't get me wrong. But the more you test, the more positives you're gonna see. I've said, I don't know how many, a coworker asymptomatic was going in for a procedure, which they tested every procedure, he had it. There was 9 people around him, so they get quarantined, so. I think the more you test, it's obvious it's gonna be.
Well, no, I've got ideas of what I'd like to see, but I don't wanna say the project right now, but I don't care to either.
I guess that's what I'm wondering,
Because-
what are we doing as a group as far as
At least we
when
need to
and
get our
how we
ideas.
starting this
Yeah.
process to get the
Like,
plan
do we want to rule out a 5-day plan? I mean,
That should be, or like, when do we say, okay, we wanna do this in phases, if that's how we wanna do it? Like, when are we setting that at least, and then bringing in the health department and curriculum and all of that?
I think we're decent, we're probably better than lawyers.
Yeah, let's figure out what
That and-
problem we have with personnel,
The personnel
where
first.
we set.
We'll get that route first, and
Then
then
we
you
get
want
ready
to
to discuss.
talk about that.
Yeah, you have to, yeah.
And based on that,
It might
next meeting,
Or if we
I have,
back out.
back out tonight and have an idea tonight, or since, you know, like,
That's fine with me.
Like you said, we need to have, everybody
Everybody's
need to have a
thoughts.
discussion about the employees that's on there right
Well,
What do you think?
if we need to do
now.
that
Let's do
first.
that now, I mean, unless you got more you wanna say before we.
Anything else?
You went over this, we got her concerns, and hope you get y'all answers. It won't be nice, you know that.
Yeah, no, I certainly wasn't expecting that.
This is the same concerns that we have, I mean, and plus a few more that's not on here.
I mean, there's sort of an expiration date, right, based on the time the parents have to make decisions.
In our,
I know that my two youngest children, if they got COVID, they would die. It's not even a question, they would die, and they would die quickly. And I'm not gonna bury my children. So when we look at that, and I know there are other parents in that, and that it seems very true, but it's just what it is. And so before we make those decisions, and there's a timeline that we've got, right, because we have to decide virtual or not by a certain date, so you have no pressure.
this is required in the state department law.
I'd say all our petitions, we just quickly can, we will make sure we do the best we can.
I don't wanna wait till August 14th.
I'll tell you, even if we do, I'll be ready. There's probably a good chance everything will change from all this work ain't on anyway. We have that our deadline.
Yeah, but I don't wanna, I would rather us not go up to that deadline.
Yeah, I say, but that,
Assuming nothing changes, then teachers are going back 11 days after that.
I just say though,
It probably will change, I just think, like I said last time, all we can do is, this is what we have, so we just have to work on this, because that's what we have right now, and it changes. So it's very fluid, we
That's why
change
we have to have
it.
the if-then statements, if
Right.
this occurs, this is what we're doing. So, whichever direction we're moving. Toward more blended or remote, or toward our distance, or things are going extremely well, back to the 5 minutes.
well, when you get, I like to look at it. How many other counties are you aware of that are doing about the bus roads?
I don't know that other counties have, extra bus routes. Canals always have them. Canals
I
have them.
understand that, but then I mean, if I had more, if there's one
I
to
don't
give.
know, I don't know what others are doing, I'm not seeing any transportation, or splitting in that way or not. Something I can check that.
Yeah, that's something you could ask the ones that in our group anyway. If it, how we're doing.
Yeah, in our, Mountain State, yes.
Yeah, Mountain State.
Gotcha. I can pull the audience on that.
So what, do you feel like we need to go into executive
Yeah.
discuss personnel, or,
Yeah, we was told that for the. We need, I guess, we can leave this one open for discussion and go into here, personnel on this. I need a motion that,
I'll make a motion.
your motion, Mr. Buncover. Second, by Mr. Tennant, to go in to discuss personnel that's involved with this, on this discussion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We're going in executive at 7:09.
Do you all want to go to the large